Vinay, Balaji, and welcome to another professional prep video. In today's video, let's talk about Java graphics. To begin, Java graphics are really important in Java because that is typically what they use to teach sophisticated concepts in computer science. So if you plan on pursuing a degree or pursue on learning more Java, you should definitely hone down your skills in Java graphics because that's what most people will use to teach you sophisticated concepts. Also, it's more fun to print out like an image rather than just a textual output. So that is typically why people learn Java graphics and why it's important. So now I brought up this graph, and I'm going to talk to you about what Java graphics, also known as applet, what their graph looks like. So you go by increments of 25. Let me bring this up. Alright, yeah. I guess, let me see. Alright, there we go. So basically what happens is you go by increments of 25 on the x-axis all the way to 1000. And then for the y-axis, you go by increments of 25 going down by all the way to 650. And this is the graph that they use. So if you want to think of it, this would be the origin. The top left would be the origin. This is very different than a Cartesian graph, something that most people are very familiar with, where this would be like 0, 0, and then all going up it would be like positive y values in the y-axis. Going to the right, it is positive x values, and then going left, it is negative x values, and going down is negative y values. So that is the key difference. Knowing that the origin starts in the top left, increments by 25 going to 1000, and then increments by 25 going down to 650 for the y-axis. So now that you guys understand the graph, let me talk about the things that you need to set up to create graphics. So the first thing you need to set up is having these libraries. Oftentimes, many people have the correct code but forget the libraries, and therefore they get an error. Sometimes it'll take a long time to find the error, but in reality, it's just you're missing one of those imports. So please make sure you have those imports before you start programming. Also, when you print out graphics, know that you're using a paint method and not a main method. The difference between a paint method and a main method is that a main method is typically used for a textual output, while a paint method is used for graphics. Sounds exactly what it is. And next off, I'm using a compiler called BlueJ. And BlueJ is a really good compiler. I like it a lot, and it's really good at graphics. I'm not saying that our previous compiler, which we used, JGrasp, is not good at graphics, but I just really like the color coding aspect of it and how it color codes like where a particular method ends. It makes coding look a lot more simpler in my eyes with debugging. So if you guys really want to learn more about how to use this compiler, I can certainly make a video about it in the future. So please let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video about BlueJ. Alright, so without further ado, let's continue on to graphics. Alright, so first off, let's just do g.setColor, color.red. Alright. So to explain this, think about this. You're taking a pen and you want to pick what color the pen is, right? And say if you want to draw like the line in a red pen, this is what it does. It just takes the color, makes it, and it's red, and then when it draws something, it is in red. So that's typically what I'm doing there. One thing to know is that you're passing the parameter g, so anything you do g dot, it will conduct that statement. It doesn't have to be G. I know G is really common and very popular in Java, but it could also be like graphics screen or literally anything else. But I just use G because it's one of the most famous parameter names for graphics, since G is graphics, you know. Alright, so next off, let's just draw a line. So g.draw line. I'm gonna put 4 random numbers and we'll see what comes out. Alright, so I'll compile. Now I'm gonna run the applet. And let's see what comes out. What I'm expecting is a line. Alright, perfect. So this is the line that we're dealing with. Now, let me go back and explain exactly what all these numbers mean. So it's going to be draw line, g.draw line, remember that, because you need the parameter. Alright, And inside this, it's going to be int x1, int y1, int x2, int y2. And basically, let me explain how that looks on here. So say if I'm drawing a line, right? Basically, they're taking this point, the one right here on the left, right here. They're taking that point, and then they're taking the one on the like this point, on the right, and they're just putting that inside the parentheses so that the compiler knows where to start, where to end. And that's typically what it does when it's drawing a line. And please remember that you're doing you're incrementing by 25 on the top for the x and 25 for the y, not the Cartesian graph which I explained earlier. Alright, next off, let's set a color, let's set a new color so that we know like the different shapes that we are doing. So let's just do color.blue. So let's just do g.fill rect, and let's do 4 random numbers again. So 300, 400, 300, 150. And let me talk about where these numbers came from. So the sort of syntax for it is g.draw. It could be draw or fill rect. I just use fill rect because I'm more comfortable with using it. But yeah, that's typically any of them work. So you could change this to g.draw rect or g.fill rect. And inside the parenthesis, you're just gonna have int x, int y, int width, and then int height. So that's typically the format of drawing a rectangle. I'm gonna express this in the image just graph paper again. So let me draw it out. Alright, so say if I'm having, whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Alright, my bad, guys. Alright, here you go. So say if I'm trying to draw a rectangle, this would be the width, just draw W. This would be the height, draw height. And then this is the starting point. So it would be your x and y. So this would be the first two things in your parenthesis. Basically the coordinates of this point, and then it just goes by width and height. So that's typically how you deal with a rectangle. Now let's talk about, let's go with the oval. Alright, so g.fill oval. 500, no, let's do 50. 500 is way too big. Alright, so that is filling the oval, and, oh, I forgot, I should probably compile what the rectangle looks like. Run applet. Alright, yeah, so that's, oh, alright, well, that's how the oval looks, and that's how the rectangle works. I think I'm gonna change the color of the oval so you guys understand that that's the oval, but I'm just gonna explain it verbally right here. So, let's think, what's a cool color? Wanna do green? Alright, let's do green. Alright, now let me talk about the format of oval. Alright, yeah, similar to rectangle, you can use fill or draw. You can do that for any shape, so from now on, I'm just gonna put either one, and you should know that it could be either draw or fill. So, basically for the oval, it is int x, int y, int width, int height. Very, very similar to the rectangle, if not like exactly the same as a rectangle. And like I said previously, it will do exactly what the rectangle does. Take the int x, take the value on the top left where you want to start at, just go with the width and height, and then there you go. That's your oval. Alright, and finally, let's just do an arc. G.fill arc. And like I said earlier, let me just change the color just so that you guys know that what color I'm using represents what image, I guess. So let's just set color dot magenta. That's a cool color, right? I think it's like pink. Alright, so going on. we'll use 200, 0, 100, 100, 0, 180. Now the first question you must be wondering is, wow, why are there 6 elements inside the parentheses? So now I'm going to show you exactly how the syntax works out. So it's going to be int x, int y, int width, int height, int where you start at, and then int degrees. So basically, when you draw the oval, right, or the arc here, oh, it's a dark green. My apologies. All right, perfect. So let me run this. So basically, when you draw all right, so this is magenta. All right, yeah, so it's somewhat pink. And this is the arc that I was talking about. Basically, you have an int x and int y. So let's start that right here. And then you have the width of it and the height of it, similar to the rectangle and oval. And the one thing that you have is just where you sort of start at when you do the degrees. So I'm going to start at this point, which we set at 200, 0. 200, 0, right here. This is the point. And then you just go by how many ever degrees that we want it to go by. Or actually, no, this point. My apologies. Yeah. So we start at this point, which is 200, 0, and then we go to how many degrees we want to go by. In our case, we want to go over 180 degrees. So this is why it is flat here, 180 degree angle from the middle. Wait, my apologies again. 200, 0 is over here, not over here. So we start over here, and then we have the 180 degree angle. That creates the arc. My apologies about that, so let me repeat that just so you guys understand what I was talking about. Basically, the point here, where I talked about where it starts from, this is where they determine the degree length. So say if you want the degree to be like 360 degrees, you're going to be drawing basically like a circle. If it's 180, you'll be drawing an image like this. If it's 90, this will be split into half, and you'll only be drawing like a quarter of a circle. And that is typically how you fill an arc. I know that sounds sort of confusing, but I hope you understand it. Once you start creating arcs by yourself in practice, it will make a lot more sense. Let me just repeat that part again, because I know arcs for me was really tough. Basically, you have an int x, int y, where you start from, and then you have a width and a height. This part is exactly the same as the oval and rectangle. And then the part here where I talk about int where you start at is just where you want the shape to draw for degrees. In terms of degrees, you want the degrees to be in terms of that position. So that's what that number is for. I hope that cleared it up. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I know graphics are really tough for some people, so if you want any help with graphics, please let me know. Put them in the comments below. Send us an email. All our contact information is in the description, so if you have any questions with this video or any of our past videos, please send us an email. We're glad to help you guys. At the end of the day, we want to help you guys learn, so if you have any questions, please send us an email or reach out to us. All our contact information is in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys have a really good day.